Hey, Nelson, alcoholic addict. That is not my real name. That's a pen name that I use here at LOL Sober. I recently watched season one of the Disney Plus show Loki. It's a Marvel show, and it's based on the character Loki, who is the god of mischief. I've never been called a god by anybody other than me. I've called myself that many times. Um, but I have been accused many, many times of mischief, that's for sure. And so I identify with the character on that level. He is a troublemaker. And I've had a few days like that in my life. Just ask my mom or police officers in any town I've lived in. I liked the show. I thought it was a little choppy. Some episodes were way better than others, but I ultimately found it was quite amusing, and so I give it a thumbs up. It's worth a look. I think it's 7 episodes, probably 6 hours total programming. It's also a crucial part of where the entire Marvel universe appears to be headed, which is a multiverse. And if you're unfamiliar with the concept of multiverse, Google it. You won't come up from the Google rabbit hole for a couple of months, but it's a fascinating concept. And the most concise description would be that a multiverse builds on the idea that, like, what if there are parallel universes where there are versions of us all running around, leading different lives, making different choices? So it's pretty wild. That's why I'm talking about Loki on a sober newsletter, because I try to always remember how the life I am currently living is a freaking miracle. If there are many, many, many simulations of my life out there in the universe, I think this variant version of me, sober and happy, it's one of the very small percentage of lives that have a happy ending. I really think that. I think if I had to assess my chances in retrospect, I think there's probably, I'm making all this up, but there's probably about a 50% chance that I didn't get sober and I'm dead by age 40. I think there's probably a 25% chance then that I would have kept drinking and drugging and ended up in jail or an institution right now. And so that means I think there's probably about a 25%, 1 in 4 chance, 25%, that I went to rehab and got sober. But I think of that 25% of times that I didn't use drugs and alcohol anymore, I think a good chunk of those would have been disasters. There is a version of me that gets off drugs and alcohol for a while, stay off them, but I just got dry. I don't do any self-improvement. I think that version of me might actually be the most miserable of all the options, even death. The idea that I would just stop drinking and drugging and be the same immature train wreck that just wreaks havoc on people. I just think me without drugs and alcohol, without a program, still a huge problem. And I've said many times, including on this newsletter, that there are moments early on in rehab where I was so happy, very, very happy to be clean and sober. But I thought maybe I don't need a long-term program for my sobriety. Maybe I'll do rehab for 90 days, get drugs and alcohol out of my life, and I'll be great. I'll be good to go. And I had some good friends who'd cleaned up, the drugs and alcohol part of their lives, and their lives improved, and they managed to stay that way without going to 4 meetings every single week and having a sponsor and working the steps. And I thought, hey, that sounds good. Maybe I'll be able to do that. And well, it didn't work out that way, and I'm glad it didn't. So if you're following along with my math, I've given 300 percentages here that I don't know add up to 100, but we'll see. Check my math. That means I think there's maybe a 10% chance that I end up in the place that I am now, where I have an active sobriety program, I have a wonderful family, lots of good friends, I have a toolbox to handle the bumps in the road, and there have been bumps in the road. I have enough money to pay bills, and so on and so on. That's my life now. And it's so worth it to think about what a small percentage it is that it ends up this way. And as I was thinking about this topic, I kept going back and forth about whether 10% might be a little too complimentary toward me, because, if you argued with me and told me the actual chances of me getting sober and living this life were 1 in 100, 1%, I wouldn't argue with you, because I just don't know. I ended up watching the show and feeling tremendous gratitude for my sobriety. It was really an unexpected way to remember that I caught lightning in a bottle when I put the bottle down. So I would just emphasize that to anybody out there, even if you're struggling. If you put your head on the pillow at the end of the day, you didn't drink today, yeah, even if your kids are mad, you didn't get promoted at work, you have a flat tire in the car, but you put your head on the pillow, you go to sleep knowing you didn't drink and drug anymore today. Oh my God, what a win! You know, there are lots of days where my mind, it wanders a bit. You know, I feel some self-pity for stuff. I wish I had a better life with more money and nicer kids and less assholes. Then I watch a TV show and I realize I'm being the asshole. And I remember this whole freaking thing is a gift. This is my lucky Loki life, and I'm so blessed to have it. So thanks for letting me share.